All right, welcome in. It is Thursday. It's time for Total Bases. I did make it home. I still am sort of glowing with these lights, but I am back. I am back in Central New York. Finally back from Indianapolis. The Final Four was great, and now it's officially on the baseball season. College basketball moves out of the way, and at least for the next couple weeks, boys, I feel like we've got the spotlight until the NHL and the NBA playoffs get going. So if you're just rolling in, welcome in. We do this show 6 days a week, 9 a.m. Quick programming note with last call coming back. Saturday's show, we're still going to have Total Bases. That'll just move to 10 a.m. instead of last week's slot for 11 a.m. So we're still going to be with you 6 days a week. That's me. That's Bryan Leonard on my left, Tokyo Brandon on my right. And we're probably going to get to all the games today because Thursday is the travel day now for the most part. So 6 games on the slate today. I'm going to Tokyo Brandon. Let's start in Citi Field. You gave out a winner that was a client play on the show 2 days ago in this series. A game that we kind of all won because the Diamondbacks got there in the first 5. The Mets ended up getting there in the full game, which was what I liked. Yesterday, Arizona comes back and levels this series up 1 game apiece. And now we've got the rubber match. So Eduardo Rodriguez, Nolan McLean, nice pitching matchup. Who are you looking at here, TB?
Yeah, I do have a couple of things to like in this game. I did put the pitcher OPS numbers out and the pitcher outs recorded projections on my Twitter. You can see it down there. But neither one of these pitchers really qualify on that. But yeah, it's going to be cold in New York. I heard it's going to be 42 degrees. And a lot of people
confirmed it's freezing. Yeah.
A lot of people make a big thing about low scores in cold weather, and somewhat true. I mean, I do factor that into my cap, but I think some people overreact a little bit. I mean, the Yankees and A's just played an 8-5 game, and then they played a 3-2 game in the same weather. So it can happen. It can be an influence, but it cannot be an influence. Looking at this, a couple of things to like, but the thing I really caught my eye was that the Diamondbacks team total was 2.5. I thought that was really low because generally 3.5 is the norm. And then if it's a really weak team under certain conditions, they'll drop it to 2. Or if it's a team that's just cranking, they'll pump it up to 4. I thought 2.5 is a little low for this lineup. This lineup is hitting well. Yes, Peterson is a decent pitcher, and the Mets bullpen is playing really well. But I think 2.5 is a little too low. So that's the way I would certainly go on this game.
Brian, I did I'm doing a daily segment on the WagerTalk YouTube channel called Under the Radar, where I try to target, a guy that's maybe a little bit off the, that's not on everyone's radar. And I found it a little bit challenging to do that early in the season since right now everyone knows who everyone is. The opening day rosters are not that much different. And so I've had to get a little creative in that slot. And a couple days ago, well, about 5 days ago to be exact, I used Nolan McLean. And one of the things I talked about was I think people have forgotten a little bit just how dominant he was those few starts after he got called up last year when he came up. And his stuff was wiping out basically anyone and everyone that he faced. Toward the end of last season, he had a couple of starts where it was like he was clearly fatigued, in my opinion. And it just didn't look the same as it did. He made 8 starts at the big league level. Those first 5 looked a lot different than those last 3 from a dominant standpoint. I got to watch him all April and May last year right here in Syracuse, New York, which is where he pitched for the entire first half of the season. And he kind of got off to a slow start last year. So he's a guy that I think is and he's an ace. That's the point I'm trying to make. I can only back him at this point. I love his stuff. Can I target him here in some fashion is my question to you.
Did I say Peterson, by the way? Sorry to cut you off. I meant McLean. Sorry about that. Yeah. Sorry, Brian.
Peterson went yesterday and took advantage of him as I had Arizona as one of my 2 top plays. The other one, unfortunately, was Kansas City. And the pitcher gets knocked out early. And when you take a dominant pitcher like that and they get hit with a line drive early, what's your chances of winning? Arizona, Rodriguez, and McLean, two of the guys who pitched in the World Baseball Classic and had some success. Going from that early part of the season, the thing is with Rodriguez, now he hasn't pitched a lot of innings lately, the last few years because he's been hurt, but he's a veteran guy. He's been there a long time, and I think he's able to react to that a little bit differently than McLean. McLean's a guy, I like McLean, no doubt about it, but he does have some of the advanced numbers don't like him as much. To get the Mets here in this situation without what you could claim is their best hitter in the lineup, I don't know if I can lay this number. We're looking at anywhere from, basically 160 or whatever here, total of 7. Like Arizona yesterday, McLean against lefties, McLean against lefties last year, he had a 12.5 walk rate. That's way too much. He only had 4 against righties, and he'll be facing off against like 7 guys that are left-handed. So I think if I'm going to play anything in here, I may play the Arizona team total over. Let me check what the current number may be on that. But I don't want to lay the number on this one if you like the favorite. But let's go with the team total. We're looking at Arizona 2.5 minus 150. I think they score 3 runs against the Mets here. I know it's a good pitching ballpark, but keep in mind half of these games, or 2 of the games today, are new series. The others are getaway games. So anytime you're playing an over in a getaway game, you got to keep an eye on that also.
Well, I'll get TB back in here before we move on because not as many games to talk about today. As you're kind of talking, Brian, I'm looking at Eduardo Rodriguez with a 0.00 ERA. I'll tell you what, that's not what his ERA is going to be at the end of the year, right? Like he's been awesome to start the season, but I wouldn't be that surprised. Listen, the Soto thing, I think the Mets have enough of a like platoon option with some of the other guys that they have to not be totally like just so much worse without Soto in the lineup. So, and I'll go back to the point, and this is where I'll throw it to you, TB. I can't back this Diamondbacks team very often on the road. I just think they're going to lose a lot of games on the road in the fashion that they lost 2 days ago, where they have a hard time holding out a lead. So I kind of like the over here as well. 7 is a low number.
7 is a low number, and you're muted, but
earlier there we go.
I can hear him.
Yeah, 7 is a low number, and it goes along with what I said. I like the Diamondbacks team total. Rodriguez, you're correct. He will not have a 0 ERA by the end of the season. I've never been a real fan of his, to be honest, but man, he dealt pretty well in the World Baseball Classic. I expected a letdown to start the season, and he did not let down. Neither did McLean. So both pitchers pitching well, but I think there's going to be a little back to earth kind of thing going on here. Mets bullpen is good though. So that would be the only thing. I mean, they're dealing pretty well. But the Mets lineup is hitting pretty well too. Diamondbacks have good guys in their lineup, but a little bit current form not quite as good as they should be. But yeah, I think the weather thing is a thing, but I think it's a little overblown. I think this easily gets to 7. What, you need a 3-3 game going into extras to get a push? I think that easily will happen.
Yeah. TB 3-3 is a free roll. Brian, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I got a problem with the Mets lineup, and I know he wants the veterans up at the top of the lineup, but Lindor never hits early. He's batting leadoff. Polanco has not hit. And he's got his best home run hitter batting out of the 9th slot, Francisco Alvarez. The guy, if he's healthy, he's the big power bat in this lineup. Luis Robert, he doesn't hit for power anymore. He's a speed guy. Vientos is hitting. He's another power guy. He's hitting 6th. You got to put them up in the middle of the lineup. Why has he got Francisco Lindor batting leadoff early in the season? It doesn't make any sense. Even Lindor knows that he doesn't hit well early in the season. They got to bring Alvarez up, but I don't like this lineup. With Alvarez batting 9th instead of 4th or 5th, he's probably going to lose an at-bat here and needs your big power bat.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting conversation. The Mets, kind of get it. as Brian has pointed out on this show, kind of been notorious slow starters. Certainly probably don't want to lay. The number came out sort of where I made it, but I'm with you, Brian. I don't really have any interest laying this price in this spot. I do think, though, that 7 is playable. If you had to play this game, this is the MLB Network sort of national TV game tonight. If you had to play it, I think over 7 has a little value. I would have had it at 7.5. And of course, that is a big deal, that half run. You get the 3-3, you're at least pushing at worst. Otherwise, you'd be looking at a loss at 7.5. And it's minus 110. So it's a fair price on that as well. Brian, you made a good, I forget who made the point now, but the point is, I do think weather does get overblown a little bit. And there was a scenario last week where I think the wind was blowing out in Kansas City, similar to like it will be today. Okay, so you got wind blowing out at Kauffman Stadium. Everyone loved the over in Royals Twins. I actually think Tokyo Brandon went under and cashed a 5%er in that game. So he will be who I go to first here, because I think it was you, TB, that said, hey, sometimes the weather is just like totally overblown. And that was a great example of it because people were lining up at the window. I think I even made the point for it myself that the wind was blowing out and it was a dead under, which I believe you nailed a big client play on. So same situation today, White Sox Royals, wind blowing out Kauffman Stadium. Tell us what you got in this one.
White Sox Royals. Yeah, again, I just think wind is a little bit overblown. But looking at this game, I have a 5% play out today, by the way. Just throw that out there. But I won't tell you what game it's in. You got to go to my site to see it. If you look at my OPS pitcher numbers that I put on Twitter, Lugo leads the way. He's number 1 with OPS against the batters he's facing today. So, and the White Sox are not exactly striking the fear of God into people. At the moment, I got them ranked 26th out of 30 right now. So a White Sox team total looks pretty nice, or even the first 5 under 1.5. But first 5 up under 1.5s in Major League Baseball is a really treacherous proposition because these hitters are so good. No matter how bad the team is, these hitters are the best in the world. So betting under 1.5 in 5 innings, which is more than half of a baseball game, is really a risky proposition. I don't know. Full game team total, maybe. Royals are coming. We've talked about this in shows before. Royals are coming back home off of an away game and no rest. So that is a dead spot. So, under would be the only way I would look in this game, and it's not because of the weather.
Yeah, Brian, I'll bring you in for this one. The White Sox, I've made it known that I'm higher on them than the market. However, I do think there has been a little bit of an adjustment, definitely more so than another team we'll talk about a little bit later in the Rockies. Like the market has been much quicker to say, okay, the White Sox, we see it, right? They come in, they're only 4-8, but that early sweep of the Blue Jays really, in my opinion, swung the market in their favor to the point where I really haven't found them to be playable. I know Tokyo Brandon really liked the Orioles the other day in that White Sox series, and he cashed with them. And I felt like the Orioles were pretty much the value that entire series. But going to TB's point, I like Anthony Kay. Comes over from Japan. He's got some decent swing and miss stuff. So his stuff could play here, but I couldn't really find a way into this game. What do you have for me, Brian? White Sox Royals.
Yeah, you mentioned the weather, and we talked about that, I believe, the day of and the day after. The wind was blowing out, but it was a day game, and I didn't think about the shadows, and the shadows made a big difference in that game for the day game. This is not a day game. This is a night game. So that does make a difference here. Anthony Kay has not looked good so far, but I like him a lot more than what he has shown. He's on a limited. We as Americans, maybe just everybody around the world, whatever you see recently is what you think in your brain, and you don't go a long distance and you don't think back. And that's why everybody freaks out about guys getting off to slow starts and that kind of thing in baseball. But Anthony Kay, he's a better pitcher than that. He's a lefty. Kansas City only sees lefties 1 out of every 3 games or whatever. So coming back home here, if I'm going to lay 180, 190 in this game, I'm going to do it with an ace of a ball club. I'm going to do it with the Reagans. I'm not going to do it with the Seth Lugo. I love Seth Lugo. He's usually a betting value, but why is Kansas City such a big favorite in this division? None of the teams in this division are that great. Detroit's probably the best. Kansas City maybe second best, but I don't want to lay any team in the AL Central lay in this price number without their ace on the mound, and they don't.
Yeah.
And if you take a look at Kansas City's bullpen yesterday, because of Reagan's getting hurt early, they had the 3 long guys all had to pitch, so none of those guys are going to be available. Now, granted, the back end guys will be, but what happens if Lugo gets hit early and they've got to bring in like your normal 6th or 7th inning guy? Got to move him into the 4th or 5th inning. That's a worry here. I don't want to lay that number for that. To me, the White Sox are the way to go in this game. Find a way, play them plus the 1.5 or whatever. Yeah, I don't want any part of Kansas City in this one. And the way that they got bombed by Cleveland, that was a show me series for Kansas City, and they just didn't have it. So yeah, so White Sox are nothing for me.
TB, go ahead.
Quick point. We know why the line is what it is, though, because Lugo is a pretty established starter since his time with the Mets way back when, and they don't know anything about K, and K basically had a really rough start. But these are the situations where if you know what you're talking about, you can take advantage of the lines, because the book is putting the line out there because Joe Public is going to say, oh, Seth Lugo, I know him. And White Sox suck. So that's basically what Joe Public thinks. So you got to dig deeper if you want to win. 99% of sports bettors lose, and that's why they just bet the team they're a fan of, or they just fade the White Sox when we know that the White Sox are going to win probably 40% of their games.
I got to push back on, like, I don't think K had a bad start in either start. He just wasn't dominant. I mean, he pitched into the 5th inning. It wasn't like he came out and had quality starts in either, but he was up against 2 of the better lineups in baseball. I get the Blue Jays have a couple injuries right now, but he battled. I watched both of his starts. He battled through 4 1/3 against the Brewers, gave up 2 runs on 3 hits. He did have a couple walks. He still got his 5 strikeouts. And then the Blue Jays, I actually thought even though he didn't strike anyone out, I thought he still pitched well. The White Sox won that game. He didn't really, he wiggled out of a couple of spots, 3 innings, 4 1/3, 3 hits. He gave up 2 runs. I actually think he was pretty serviceable in both. And I don't think we've even seen like remotely what his best effort could be yet. Right. Also against 2 pretty tough teams, one in which was in some weather in Chicago last week. Again, like I just, the Royals, I don't have the Royals even close to the caliber of team that the Blue Jays and the Brewers are going to be this year. So I look at this and say a little bit of a step down. And Brian made a great point. They use some of their long relief guys. So unless Lugo comes out and is really, really good today, I think the White Sox are actually in a better scenario to win this game than maybe the Royals even are on the money line. Mm-hmm. But I'm with you, Brian. I like White Sox plus 1.5. The price is right. Not a ton of value having to lay 130 there, but it's the only way I think I could go. White Sox plus 1.5. Go ahead, TB.
Quick point. I don't mean to beat a dead horse on the same game for 20 minutes, but Kay last year pitched with Trevor Bauer in Yokohama with the Bay Stars, and Trevor Bauer is known for being extremely smart, extremely cerebral, and extremely good to his teammates about teaching them and mentoring them. Anthony Kay was mentored by Trevor Bauer the entire year last year, so that's probably why he looks so good. Say like what you want about Trevor Bauer. He's the smartest pitcher I've ever seen.
That's a really good point, because I watched some of his videos that he makes, that he's made during his time in Mexico, during his time in Japan. And that is, I mean, he knows how to pitch. Like, say what you want about him. Yep. That's absolutely something Kay can learn from. That's a tremendous point, DB. I think that's a really good point. Brian, I'm going to come back to you
The
here.
Bauer's in New York now, by the way. He's plays
the
for
Long
like
Island Ducks.
Yeah.
It's an indie team. Yeah. The
Yeah.
Long Island Ducks is his new home.
Yep.
I think the Atlantic League, maybe. One of those independent leagues in the Northeast.
Independent, yeah.
Brian, I'm going to come back to you because I sort of made the comparison, but the Rockies plus 1.5 money train might be leaving the station a little bit. It's not to say it's not still a good, like that they're still not going to play well and potentially cover that. But here's the shift. Suddenly, you've got to pay minus 130 when a week ago, you probably would have got like plus 105 on that minus 1.5 line. So it took the books longer than I expected, but this was the first time where I said, okay, new series. There it is. They're starting to respect the Rockies a little bit. Plus 1.5, suddenly juiced to minus 130. Even a couple days ago, might have been minus 110 in the same game. They're in San Diego tonight. What do you do with Rockies, Padres? 9:40 p.m. tonight out in San Diego.
Yeah, this is probably going to be my part of the parlay today. I'm not a guy who lays a lot of big favorites, but I don't want any part of Colorado here. Colorado playing at home is totally different than Road Rockies. You take advantage of Road Rockies, and Colorado did not start the season in Colorado. So when you're pitching, we'll go over it again. When you're pitching in Colorado, the ball doesn't move as much. So your off-speed pitches do not move. Now, when you come on the road, if you're pitching for Colorado, the movement that you didn't have before, you're going to have more movement. Well, that means probably more walks. And we've got a Colorado team who's going to have a bullpen game here. And other than maybe the Washington Nationals, you do not want a bullpen game out of the Colorado Rockies. Randy Vasquez, the one guy on this team that is still being underpriced, if you ask me. He's a very good pitcher starting at home in this one. San Diego has to travel as well, so they're not based back at San Diego, so it's a tougher game for them. But I don't want any part of Colorado here. If San Diego, we're looking right now in the 180, 195 range, something in that. And if you take a look at the spread in this one, if you lay 1.5, you're getting them at plus money. So there's not many times I'm looking to lay 1.5 for the home team, because you're only going to get 8 innings probably if you're the favorite. But still, all you need to do is win by 2 at home here. I will, because it's the parlay, and we got to have 3 bets. I'm just going to play them straight up here. But that's the way I would go here. I really want to fade Colorado here, especially off of probably a pretty impressive homestand.
Yeah, it's looking like what do you think? Minus 190 on the Padres there?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, Padres. I talked about them yesterday. They got it done for my parlay leg. They took 2 of 3 in Pittsburgh, which was a good result for them. I'm not dying to lay a price with a Padres team that I ultimately don't think is a great baseball team this year. I do see sort of the merit of maybe doing it in this spot. I'm trying to figure out, it could be Chase Dollander who gets the bulk here. He's someone that I do sort of still have him with some upside. He hasn't pitched poorly, but ultimately that minus 130 price tag would have to come down like at least 20 cents before I would consider a Rockies plus 1.5. And I don't really want the Rockies on the money line, so I'm not gonna really argue there. Total is 8. Tokyo, Brandon, anything Rockies Padres for you in any of the markets?
So when I first looked at this game, by the way, you guys get a double play. You can get 2 of us for 3 days. It's a really good deal. I recommend going to WagerTalk.com and getting that. I have a 5% out, and Adam is red hot right now in baseball. So grab a double play. And Brian is the WagerTalk's all-time #1 baseball handicapper. So you can't go wrong with either 2 of us. So grab it. When I first looked at this, I thought, look, Padres are coming back on a weak spot. Padres are not exactly ripping the cover off the ball right now. Randy Vasquez is pitching a lot better than people give him credit for. I thought under, but then I looked at the line and I saw 8 and I'm like, ugh. So then I looked around and I thought, Padres under 4.5 is a consideration, but in the end, I'm going to stay off the game because Padres are a team that I get burned by almost every time I bet them. So they have really good names, but they don't perform. And then when I fade them, they score 8. So they're a team I stay away from.
Yeah. Again, I've been very vocal about being high on the Rockies. That has not changed. It's just the market has started to respect them a little bit. And you have, again, I'll say it until I'm blue in the face. If you are not super strict about the numbers you are betting, you will not beat the Major League Baseball market. You just won't. Let's move to the afternoon. We've done all of the night games at this point. Let's go to the big name on the afternoon slate. That's the New York Yankees. They lost last night after coming back and winning on Tuesday. And so now this is the rubber match of the series. Brian, I'll go to you first. A's, Yankees, 1:30 p.m. Eastern in the Bronx. Springs and Weathers, how are you seeing this one?
Yeah, two guys that have names involving weather, spring and weather. And I like spring weather. I like summer weather better, but it's two lefties going, Springs and Weathers here. We've seen enough of Springs over the years that we kind of know what he can do. Weathers, when he's healthy, he looks good, but you rarely get him healthy. The deal right now with the Yankees, they're about a 215 favorite and a total here of 8. Normally, I would look for this game to go over, as I think there'll be successes from the offense here, but it is the last game of the series, and without knowing how long this is going to last, it's interesting. Well, because this year with the challenges and the whole bit, the umpires before, if they had a plane to catch, they could stretch it a little bit. They can't stretch it as much this year, so it slows down the game every time somebody has to get a challenge. So it's going to be interesting on the getaway day if it has any effect on the totals. Just popped into my head. But I like the Yankees. Don't want to lay this number. This is a tough day with only 6 games being played. So like for my last game with San Diego, I might not have used that as a parlay piece any other day. But there's not as much choices today, so I'm not really involved in this one.
TB, Yankees, A's. You talked about the Yankees on Tuesday. They came back and cashed for you on the parlay, and they actually hit the -1.5 in that game, a big 8th inning for them, which will be something that's probably an issue for the A's most of this year, trying to actually close games out. Day game rubber match. How are you seeing Yankees, A's?
So my OPS pitcher list that I put on my Twitter has Springs number 2 on the list. He has dominated these batters in his career, and that's 33 at bats against. And I know you're going to say the sample size is a little small. Sure, it might be a little small, but according to my numbers, the A's are batting better than the Yankees, and I have Springs ranked higher than Weathers. So their bullpen though is atrocious. So I would say A's first 5 if I'm going to bet this one, but I'm probably not going to bet it. But if I were to, I really like Weathers, but he's disappointed this season. When he was with Miami, though, I really liked him, but I'm kind of surprised how underwhelming he's been. I think he'll catch on and start pitching well and be serviceable. I don't think he's going to be, an ace, or he's not going to be Garrett Crochet or anything, but I think he'll be a serviceable guy, a lot better than he has been so far. So he might catch on today, plus the weather. We might be looking at it under as well in the first 5 because I like both pitchers. I especially like Springs against these Yankee batters.
Yeah, I don't like the Yankees at this price. It would have to be the A's for me. Here's the thing, Springs, I've talked about him when he pitches at home. Smaller ballpark. Sometimes he'll miss up and he'll pay for it in that park. Probably not get, maybe you pay for it against this Yankee lineup, but you're probably unlikely to. This stadium is a little bit more forgiving when it comes to a fly ball than Sacramento is. So that's something I like about them. Sometimes a team has exposure to a pitcher, like, pitch like Springs has had to deal with the Yankees for years. So I don't think that he, won't have a good game plan. I prefer him right now to Weathers, even though I see the upside with Weathers. But the thing I like about the A's is, like, they're not going to get cheated at the plate. They might strike out and have some really bad at bats, but this is a team that they can hit. Well, that's the thing. Like, when they probably will. They probably will have some really poor at bats. But the thing about the A's is, like, they've got guys that can mash, right? Like, they're free swingers. So while they're going to have some ugly at bats, they're also the type of team that on a given day can run into a couple and suddenly put up a 5 spot. And in this game, like, I just think that this price is not really factoring, like, the A's upside into it. It's like, yeah, do I think the A's are a bad team from a win-loss standpoint? Yes, they're 4-7, and they're probably going to be. I don't think they're winning more than 75 games. But when you can give me this price on the +1.5, they're on the road, and the Yankees are going to have to do it in 8 at bats. You have a veteran like Springs. And then maybe this is the day where they do hit a couple of balls out of the ballpark or just hit the ball, right? Like, their offensive upside is realized because they're a free swinging team and put some balls in play. I'd almost be willing to let the bullpen take care of itself because, like, for example, yesterday, the A's win a close game, but it's like, I don't think any of their bullpen arms are very good. So that's not something I'm really worried about. Just give me whoever the next 3 or 4 are that I'm going to have to, like, sweat out the last couple innings with. I think there's value on the +1.5 here with the road team, extra at bat. Listen, they've played 18 innings in this series so far. It's been very, very close. The A's had one bad inning that cost them that game on Tuesday. Yesterday, they win the game. I think the A's make a lot of sense on the spread here. And so that's the way I would look at this game. All right, we still have 2 games left. I'll go to Brian's already locked his parlay leg in. So TB, do you know what you're using for the parlay, and is it a game we have not talked about yet?
I do know what it is, and we have not talked about it yet.
All right, so kick us off. What game are we looking at?
We are looking at the Tigers versus the Twins today, and we got Jack Flaherty against Mick Abel, and this is one of those sweet spots. I like to call it silent flaccidity. Play on Queensryche, silent lucidity, but this is silent flaccidity spot here for the Twins. They've already won the series. They don't need to win the last game. They have the inferior pitcher on the mound, and they go to Toronto the next day. They're not really thinking about this game. They're thinking about packing their stuff and getting the hell out of the town. So this is a huge spot, I think, for the Tigers. Flaherty looked horrible, but we know who he is. He's pitched in this league for at least a decade, I think. We know he's going to bounce back and be serviceable. He's not going to be an ace. He's not going to be one of those guys, but he's going to be serviceable. And I think the Tigers crush the Twins today. They've lost both of the first 2 games of the series. Twins don't need this game. They've already won the series. So get out of Dodge game for the Twins, silent flaccidity for the Twins. And I think the Tigers prevail. It's a free play I made on my video on WagerTalk's YouTube channel. It's probably not uploaded yet, but it will be very shortly. I'm going with Detroit here, and that's going to be my parlay leg.
I'll go to Brian on this one. I like this Twins team, but I don't think this is the best spot for them. I like Mick Abel, but he's not going to have much behind him in terms of a bullpen today. So, TB, I can't really talk you off of that one. Brian, go ahead and add what you've got to add to Twins Tigers.
Yeah, I would agree. Take a look at that bullpen for Minnesota. Sands pitched the last 2 days. Topos pitched the last 2 days. Funderburk had 20 pitches. They've been used up pretty well here for Minnesota. And Detroit is a team that had high expectations coming into the season. They should still have high expectations. But, Kenley Jansen hasn't been used in 4 days. Will Vest, they put him in yesterday for the first time in 4 days. The better pitchers out of the bullpen are clearly on the Detroit side, and that would be the way that I would look here. Abel has not coming into the season. Everybody thought it was a big change for Abel. Once he's got it into the regular season, it hasn't worked out that way. It's still early. We'll have to see. But I would gladly take the veteran Flaherty in this one with the Tigers, and I think the line is fair here.
Yeah, the Tigers really dug themselves a big hole yesterday, 6-0 right off the bat. From that point forward, they were the better team. Like from that point forward, sometimes this will happen where it's like Minnesota had that breakout inning. Their bats completely went to sleep the rest of the game. They only tacked on 2 more. The Tigers really had ample opportunity to win that game last night. There was a bases loaded scenario that the Twins got out of. Kevin McGonigal swung on 3-0, which I didn't mind in the spot. I don't know if I like a rookie doing that, but the spot I didn't mind trying to ambush a fastball 3-0. The problem was he swung at a good pitch, popped it up. It was a strike, but it was still like painted on the black. Probably should have let that one go. And then of course, right at the end, game ends on a line drive to Luke Keschel, who kind of makes a nice play. I mean, if that gets into right field, who knows if the Twins hang on last night. So there was signs of that bullpen ready to sort of burst at the seams last night. And I think they could be in that situation today. So I think that's a good call, TB. I'm with you on the Tigers. I'm going to think about what I want to do while we talk Reds Marlins, the only game that we haven't talked about yet. So let's go back to Bryan Leonard. We've kind of both alluded to liking the Marlins in this series. I think TB even as well. I talked about this on my Under the Radar segment yesterday. The Marlins was my sort of free pick there, and they got the win. Bryan Leonard, the Reds are taking money all morning. Talk to me about that. Do you think the Marlins even this series up, or are you agreeing with the market here?
No, coming into the season, I would have been all over Meyer at this price range because he was a guy that looked really good in the preseason. And looking more at his numbers, he's been a little bit lucky. And I don't want to lay this kind of number here with Miami. Lauder's done nothing but great stuff so far. He was one of their higher minor league guys coming into the last couple of seasons. He's had some injury problems. He wasn't supposed to make the starting lineup, but with Hunter Green being out, he has been called on. He's been nothing but great. And you're getting Cincinnati, who I believe has the better hitters in this game. I know the Reds have been slightly lucky so far if you take a look at the expected wins compared to the wins. But in this game, if I'm forced to play it, I'd rather play Cincinnati than Miami. Yeah, but once again, it's small card. I wouldn't even be interested in this if it wasn't such a small card.
TB, same thing to you. We all kind of were leaning Miami early in the series. It finally gets there last night. How are you seeing the rubber match Reds Marlins?
Yeah, I kind of agree with Brian here. Cincinnati, I think, is the better team. The thing is, Cincinnati has a great record, but I thought it was a little smoke and mirrors because they were only scoring 2.6 runs a game their first couple games. But since then, like the last 2 or 3 games, they've broken out a little bit. So I think Cincinnati bats are about to get back on track. Cincinnati has the much better bullpen. Cincinnati, I like Lauder a lot better than I like Meyer. And I think all those small sample sizes, but this is gambling. You got to take a chance. Sometimes you can't be 100%. Nothing's a lock in gambling, but you got to go with your feeling. And my feeling is that Lauder is better than Meyer. And I would take Cincinnati on the money line here for sure. I think it's just one of those spots. Their bats are heating up. What I didn't like about them was before they weren't hitting, but now last 2 games, I think they're starting to put runs up. So I'm willing to back them now.
Well, one thing you can't really disagree with is the Reds are taking money like hand over fist this morning. This one has moved considerably since early in the morning. I think the Reds may even flip to being a slight favorite soon if they haven't already. My odd screen crashed. So I'm not going to open that back up because I think I was running too much stuff in the background. But the point is, like, if you're just monitoring the market, there's no question the Reds are taking money. Whether that means anything or not, I don't really know right here. But like, I will say this, like, for me, some conflicting stuff on both sides. This was the ultimate TB, the ultimate. Yeah, this is gambling type game. I suppose if you really have it at a coin flip, that you take the plus money with the Reds. But yeah, this was sort of the first one that I crossed off and like the easiest pass for me today. And I agree with a lot of what both of you said. And the one other thing I'll add is, the Reds, they've won a lot of run games so far this year. So you can look at that two ways. They've been fortunate, but also, and I'll bring Bryan back into this point. Sometimes these teams that win one run games, like a lot of them, it can snowball. Like we've seen teams have just seasons of bringing, getting the close games and winning one. And then it's almost like they feel like they can do it. The Mariners have like literally made playoff runs, not last year, but like go back to the couple years before. Mariners winning 83 games, 86 games, and just being crazy in one-run games. That's sort of your Reds so far to start the season. Go ahead, Bryan.
Yeah, if you're looking at the sixth most lucky teams so far this year, run differential, the Marlins are sixth and the Reds are first. The Reds should only they have 8 wins. They should only have 5.5. Marlins have 7. They have 6.2. If a team is really good at one-run games, you would assume the back end of the bullpen is great. So keep that in mind. If a team is really good at one-run games, look at the bullpen. And if the bullpen is not great, that's something you could take advantage of because teams get lucky and teams get unlucky as the season goes on. It bounces back and forth. It's sort of like the stock market. And if you're able to play on a team that comes out and looks lucky and their bullpen isn't dominant, then you can pretty much fade that the rest of the next 4 weeks or 2 weeks or whatever and see what happens. But you're in pretty good shape in that regard.
All right, like Tokyo Brandon said, the double play packages are up on our page. Basically a 2-for-1. Any of the 2 people that you see on the 3 people that you see on the screen, you pick 2, and you get all of those plays for 3 days. Outside of the long-term packages, which we also have up, that is going to be the way to go. If you are interested in some of the smaller markets, like for me, AAA baseball, 2-0 there yesterday. I'm going to win there. If you can bet it, I highly suggest that you get on the all access package because that is the only place that you can get those picks. TB does that same thing year in and year out. Japan, Korea, Mexico. He's an assassin in those leagues. So keep an eye on that. And then Bryan Leonard is primarily Major League Baseball. But Bryan, we while we're around the corner here, any NHL as you get heading into the playoffs that you have to promote?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that with at least for me, and I think just about everybody, the NBA playoffs and the hockey playoffs are the easiest way to win in those 2 sports. Obviously, the NBA, you know who you're going to get every single day. They're not going to take the times off. And the reason I like them both is because in the regular season, you play a team now, you play them 4 weeks from now, you play them 2 months from now. In the playoffs, you're playing right after another. So the coaching makes a big difference when it comes to the playoffs in both of those sports. What you've seen early, and I talked about this earlier, what you've seen lately, you can take that a little bit more seriously from what you're looking at in those 2 sports in the playoffs. Really excited for that. And yeah, any 3 of us would work 2 out of the 3. It's a great deal.
Let me promote my Twitter real quick. I'm Elvis today on my Twitter, so I just wanted to let you know that. I do have the
coming back.
What's that?
When's Tokyo Brandon coming back?
Elvis has come back to the building.
Yeah,
I love Elvis.
If you're Elvis today, don't go into the restroom.
Don't say that. It's such a horrible way to die.
You've got our Twitter handles right on the screen, so check us out on Twitter, right there under our names on the screen. We've talked about every single game, so we've obviously talked about my parlay leg. I'm going to go with White Sox plus 1.5. That is just, again, if I could get 20 cents somewhere throughout the day, that might make my client card at minus 130. It's priced where I think it should be, but we're doing a 3-team parlay at plus money, so I don't mind putting it in there. I like Anthony Kay. I like the way that this game sets up for the White Sox more than the Royals. And we talked about bullpens a second ago. The White Sox have a sneaky good bullpen when they're rested, when they haven't used those top arms. And I think they have they'll have most of them available if needed today. So the 3-teamer today, all sides, just three sides here on the 3-teamer for today. We've got Bryan Leonard is going to go with the Padres. That's minus 190. Tokyo Brandon is on Tigers, minus 135. And then my leg will be White Sox plus 1.5, minus 130. So one more time, the 3-teamer, Padres money line, Tigers money line, White Sox plus 1.5. That is the show. The three of us will be back tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Eastern for more total bases. Check out the WagerTalk site for those great specials, and we will see you guys tomorrow.